Cryptocurrency could be a new way for billionaires to avoid sanctions. Cryptocurrencies may aid Russia and its billionaires in mitigating the effects of Western sanctions. In response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, US President Joe Biden announced Thursday that he has authorized strong sanctions. These aim to limit its ability to conduct business in dollars and other major international currencies, and include penalties on 5 Russian banks with assets worth an estimated $1 trillion. A wide range of Russian elites and their families will also be targeted. This is in addition to the penalties imposed earlier this week. However, in a country that is taking steps to legalize cryptocurrencies and where the digital assets are already widely held, these sanctions may carry less weight. Typically, countries use physical workarounds to avoid sanctions, such as Venezuela and North Korea's use of ship-to-ship fuel transfers, but digital assets such as cryptocurrency and decentralized exchanges may become the most effective way to avoid penalties. Neither dictators nor human rights activists will face censorship on the Bitcoin network, said Matthew Siegel, head of digital assets research at VanEck. Sanctions imposed by the United States and its allies on companies and individuals could effectively shut them out of the West. Billionaires, some of whom have already been directly targeted, may be able to avoid those penalties if they choose to use cryptocurrency, which uses blockchain technology to keep transactions anonymous. They could use digital currencies to buy goods and services and invest in assets outside of Russia, all while avoiding banks or institutions that follow sanctions and can track their transactions. If 2 people or organizations want to do business with each other but are unable to do so through banks, they can do so with Bitcoin, said Matti Greenspan, founder and CEO of financial consulting firm Quantum Economics. If a wealthy individual is concerned that their accounts may be frozen as a result of sanctions, they can simply hold their wealth in Bitcoin to protect themselves from such actions. Workaround for sanctions. Unlike fiat currencies, which must be routed through third-party institutions that can track, freeze, or block them, cryptocurrencies can potentially be sent from one person to another without regard for government sanctions or other restrictions. Cryptocurrency holders can also create a web of wallets with different addresses spread across multiple exchanges, making it extremely difficult to track any activity and even more difficult to link transactions back to a specific individual. Furthermore, they can select cryptocurrency exchanges that are not based in jurisdictions that impose sanctions and thus are not required to adhere to regulations. Experts say that any assets held in crypto would be difficult to convert into fiat currencies, making any money that changes hands less disposable. To avoid banks or even centralized exchanges that adhere to sanctions, individuals would have to persuade any services with which they do business to accept digital payment, which could be difficult. The wealthy Russians who will face sanctions are people who personally benefited from the Kremlin's policies and should share in the pain, Biden said on Thursday. In the coming days, we will keep up the drumbeat of those designations against corrupt billionaires. So far, none of the billionaires sanctioned prior to Thursday have publicly disclosed whether or not they own cryptocurrency. To be sure, governments can still impose regulations on cryptocurrency holdings on centralized exchanges, according to David Tarwell, president of crypto investment firm ProChain Capital. He referred to the Canadian government's recent crackdown on crypto accounts owned by truckers who were receiving funds to support their blockades of US-Canada border crossings and a weeks-long protest in Ottawa. According to Brett Harrison, president of crypto exchange FTX US, assuming that cryptocurrencies make money laundering easier is a mistake. He explains that exchanges have access to technology that allows them to track and screen wallets from sanctioned countries. Individuals would also find it difficult to convert cryptocurrencies to fiat currencies through centralized exchanges without being caught, essentially making it more difficult for them to spend. What can be avoided is funds leaving an exchange where proper sanctions are upheld indefinitely, Harrison explained. Everyone can see it as soon as it moves anywhere because it's on a public blockchain, but even if they could move it, no exchange will let them convert it to a currency, and the second they do, they're caught. According to him, FTX is frequently contacted by law enforcement agencies from various states and countries with subpoenas to seize funds from specific addresses. The recent arrest of 2 individuals linked to the 2016 Bitfinex hack demonstrates the extent to which cryptocurrency can be traced. The United States government was able to track the activity of specific wallets and, as a result, freeze the accounts as soon as they were converted into fiat currency. The situation of cryptocurrency. The legal status of cryptocurrencies in Russia is changing, with the government pushing to legalize them in order to attract foreign investment and bring domestic trading out of the shadows, while the central bank says they are a pyramid scheme and should be prohibited. Putin ordered them to reach a quick compromise last month, but top government officials have yet to agree on how to regulate cryptocurrency. According to a recent government paper, millions of Russians are already immersed in this digital world, owning more than 2 trillion rubles, $22.9 billion, in cryptocurrencies. According to data from Singapore-based payment gateway Triply, more than 17 million Russians, or about 12% of the total population, own cryptocurrency. With more sanctions on the horizon, it may be in Russia's best interests to allow wealthy individuals to trade in cryptocurrency regardless of its legal status.
It's okay to have conflicting thoughts out there, and they'll get to the issue when they can get to the issue, said ProChain's Tawil, explaining that even the United States has struggled to define the legal framework and regulations surrounding cryptocurrencies.
I believe the majority of crypto activity in Russia is, frankly, in sync with the government. Other countries in the former Soviet Union are also becoming more interested in cryptocurrency. The Ukrainian parliament approved a bill to legalize cryptocurrencies last week, while Kazakhstan is working to better regulate and tax its thriving crypto mining industry. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, US equities initially fell, with the S&P 500 index falling as much as 2.6% and the tech-heavy Nasdaq 100 falling as much as 20% from its previous record high in November. Since then, stocks have recovered their losses, with the Nasdaq 100 turning positive. Bitcoin fell as much as 8.5% to $34,337, bringing its loss to nearly 50% since its all-time high in November.